So we have Season 1 Reloaded for Modern Warfare 2. Brand new release, they have released a raid for co-op play. They've brought shipment into the game. We'll be doing a full review of the season overall once I've had the time to actually test everything out and see how I feel about it. This review is just for the raid, and I thought I'd do this one separately because it's actually quite a big component of this season. Season 1 actually started back in November. The first part of it released on the 16th, if I remember correctly. Then what Reloaded is basically a continuation, a second part of Season 1, where they release, I believe, the rest of the content for the entire season. And we got a raid in with this Reloaded part of the season. And before we jump into my review and exactly what I thought of it, I want to give a massive shout out to Pete and Lewis. A massive thank you for them joining me on this and going through some of the stresses that it definitely caused us. At the same time, it's nice to see the growth on the channel, especially around Christmas. So a huge thank you to everyone that does support the channel, whether it's just watching the videos and leaving a like or buying merch, checking out the CD Keys affiliate link, buy me a coffee, all that good stuff. And I would also like to welcome all the new subscribers on the channel. So starting this off, the raid is called Atomgrad and is episode 1, so there will be continuations of this raid, but that doesn't take away from the length of this raid. It's nothing like a Division 2 or a Destiny 2 raid. This isn't going to take you like 16, 20 hours plus to get this stuff done. From the very beginning of us launching up the game and doing everything required, it took maybe about 2.5 hours, maybe 3, because it's not just as simple as starting the raid and like carrying through all the progression in there and then getting it done. In order to play Atomgrad, what you need to do is either jump on and do daily challenges in multiplayer or co-op, so Spec Ops. And there are some like small problems with that. We'll go through them in a minute. But it's either that or you can extract on the 4th chopper in DMZ with $30,000. Or you can finish a game in Warzone in the top 20. And what that's going to do is going to give you an assignment. You need this assignment to actually start the raid. You can't just jump in and start this raid. You have to play another mode. I disagree with that entirely. They are always trying to push for other modes to be played in this game, and I don't believe they should do things like that. And then the problem with it is me and Pete jumped in to do a daily for co-op. We left Lewis to play Warzone on his own, like we were still in party chat and talking and stuff, but Lewis went to solo Warzone, he's on PC, ended up crashing, so that wasn't possible. Then me and Pete jumped into co-op and we took down the daily challenge that had a star next to it and it said bonus. It doesn't specify what any of this stuff is, but we had to destroy a SAM site in the, I think it's denied area, one of the co-op missions. And once we did destroy that without planting explosives, once we did that, it didn't actually give us an assignment. So I don't know what that bonus is for the daily challenge. There is nothing to indicate what you actually have to do within these daily challenges to get an assignment. So what we ended up doing was me and Pete jumped into a duos game of Warzone and we literally just sat on the edge of the circle, tactically defending. I'm not going to call it camping. We were tactically defending this like one house on the edge of the circle, and we survived until the top 20. We got ourselves an assignment. We were under the impression that the assignment was one-time use and it was just going to be irritating and tedious to keep getting the assignments to try the raid over and over again if that's what players were wishing to do. But luckily, upon me activating the assignment, it has an active state, and this assignment, each time you get one, as far as I am aware, they last an entire week. So once we were done with the raid, I had like 6 days, 22 hours left on this one assignment. So if you play a lot of Warzone, you're going to get a lot of assignments. I don't know if they do stack, I don't know how many do stack, or anything like that, but I believe if you play Warzone, you can get your hands on lots of assignments. If you finish in top 20, then you can play the raid for as many weeks as you want. So I think that's really good how you don't have to get them every single time. They actually have a week timer on them. I did actually really like that because the amount of stuff we had to go through to actually get an assignment did end up pissing us off. But then we had a problem with the social menu and it never let us actually invite each other in. What we had to do was I was in my solo session. I had to then go and join Lewis so that we were in the game together. And then what we had to do was me and Lewis then had to go join Pete's game so that all three of us were in. We couldn't invite each other into it. We had to join the lobby and then I had to carry Lewis through to Pete's lobby so we were all in together. So that was a There's like a small problem, like, I don't know how to word it, but it was a little bit frustrating. And then after the raid, the social menu worked fine, so no idea what happened there. It was just a little issue we encountered through our experience. So overall, so far, they have locked raid gameplay behind playing other modes, the same way they locked the M13B behind DMZ, and it's something I don't really like, but I do enjoy raids a lot, so I mean, at the end of the day, it was worth playing through Warzone just to get the assignment so we could actually play the raid and try it out. They know exactly how many people have left this game and are still leaving this game, yet doing things like this, they are continuing to push players away. So I don't know why they are going down this path of locking stuff behind other game modes, but it does get annoying. Then we had another little bit of a problem, and this is all before we even get into the raid. I apologise for the length of this video, but I wanted to do an in-depth sort of review and let you know exactly how I felt about everything before, during, and even after the raid. So the daily challenges are exactly the same for co-op and the raid. The raid doesn't have its own daily challenges, and there is also no way to get your hands on assignments through actually playing the raid. You have to play other game modes. I would say by far the easiest one is to get top 20 in Warzone. And I say that purely because the daily challenges don't actually tell you which ones are going to award you with assignments. And another thing is, if you remember from Modern Warfare 2019, one of the main characters was called Alex. They have actually used Alex in the cutscene for this raid, so it feels as though they haven't done anything new, it's just continuations on the story and stuff. And it just means that when you purchase Call of Duty, if you're buying it for the campaign, you never actually get a full campaign because they've got this thing through Activision Call of Duty titles now, where they just continue the story after the story. So you play the campaign, you complete it, and then there's just continuations through Warzone, through raids and things like that. So again, another thing that's a little bit frustrating. Then the opening cutscene also shows us in a forest finding a bunker. And yeah, you don't get to do any of that. It's all just cutscene stuff. You actually start this in the bunker. And I feel they could have made the raid a little bit shorter in terms of what you do inside the bunker. There's one part we'll talk about that I feel they could have easily removed it from the mode altogether. They could have had us starting in the forest, you're making your way to the bunker, there's heavy enemy resistance and things like that. It could have been really cool to actually have to enter the bunker yourself, but no, they decided that, yeah, you're going to start in the bunker. And I want to put out a little warning, you're probably not ever going to get through this without communication, so randomly matchmaking for this is not going to work. You're going to have a full team of 3 players. So at least it has that sort of typical raid mechanic. Then another thing, as you are progressing through this raid, you will have these like weapon lockers, that's what I'm going to call them. They're like mini armories, you can pick up different guns and stuff. And if you do get killed in action as a group, so all of you wipe, there are checkpoints and stuff in this raid, but if all of you wipe, any of the weapons in those lockers that were there before you died, they all disappear. So we got to a part about halfway through, we ended up all wiping, and then as we respawned back at that checkpoint, yeah, there were no weapons, we couldn't switch out, we were stuck with whatever we chose before we died. And then the objectives in this, you start off, your first main one is to use CCTV to find a code. And then the part that I feel they could easily remove from this, the part that I really did not like, it was actually incredibly fucking frustrating. It annoyed all of us. They really didn't need to implement it into this raid, but there's a part where you are passing around an air tank and it's just non-stop. You can't swim fast because you can't use the air tank, so there's no sprint swim if you want to call it that. And you literally have to hold each other's bumholes as you're progressing through this water because there's just one air tank, there's 3 of you, and you do drown quite quick on this game. So none of us enjoyed this water section, and it's quite a long section as well. None of us enjoyed it whatsoever. And then what you need to do for the final part, I'm going to say the third main objectives, you've got CCTV to find a code and open the submarine doors. Then you've got swimming around holding each other's bumholes to make sure you survive under the water, basically as though you're playing the game I Am Fish. And then at the very end of it, you have to find another code. But this time you don't have CCTV, you need to split up, one of you in the main middle room, entering the codes, and then one of you in each of the other rooms, and you are figuring out the codes. The codes are fairly simple, you just got to know what you're doing. You basically got to look on the red panel, you've got to figure out which symbol goes to which number by using the CCTV or looking at the screen if you're on the last part of it. But the thing is with this, when you are doing the final part, you have so many ads spawning in. And not only that, you have gas going off at the same time. So there's just like, we died so many times doing this basically because I'm in the middle room, Lewis is at one computer, like activation panel or whatever, looking at the codes there, and Pete's at the other one, and we've all got enemy resistance coming in, like attacking all of us. There's explosive drones. It felt like Ghost Recon Breakpoint at times. They absolutely fucking drone spammed, like they do in the Division 2 as well. There was that towards the end of it as well, which was annoying. But we're all split up. It's designed for 3 players, and they're making you do things separately that involves killing enemies. They're armored enemies. They hit you like a truck like they do in DMZ. It just wasn't fun doing the final objective whatsoever. Because once you do put that code in, not only that you're on a timer, the code resets every 40 seconds for the first one. I can't remember the second timer, but the last code that you enter is 25 seconds. That's all you get before this code just resets and you got to start again. But after you've done the final code, you then have to basically defend yourselves for 4 minutes. The enemies can come in and they can plant a bomb you've got to defuse. But after the 4 minutes, the blast doors open and that's the raid complete. That part was annoying as well. There's gas going off in pretty much all the rooms. You've got heavy enemy resistance. You've got juggernauts coming at you all the time. There's loads and loads of juggernauts towards the end of this raid. It feels as though their structuring is very like newbie. You can tell this is the first sort of like raid content they've ever made. Because you open the blast door after the 4 minutes and that's the raid done. There is no fucking major boss. Not one major boss whatsoever. It's just heavy enemy resistance with armored enemies and juggernauts, and that's it. That's all you get. You open up the blast door and you get the cutscene. But as I said, there are checkpoints throughout the raid. There are quite a lot, so that is at least in some way helpful. And I would just like to point out that I believe Infinity Ward hired professional esports players, or they used God mode, because it took us overall 1 hour and 43 minutes to do this raid. It was our very first run, so we could probably knock a lot of time off that. And also to get 3 stars on it, you've got to do it in under 40 minutes. 2 stars is under an hour, and 1 star is to just complete the raid. But it feels as though the developers either used God mode or hired professional esports players because they completed it in 21 minutes, which I do not believe for a second. Because these developers don't sit there, they don't test things in most areas of the game properly, yet they can smash out the raid in 21 minutes. Doesn't make sense. Either that or they just haven't bothered playing and they just made up a random time that seems legit. But then with this final cutscene, all they do is they put in the cutscene and it's a cliffhanger. So now what we have to do, because that was episode 1, is we need to now wait possibly 2 months or longer, because I believe it'll be season 2, maybe even season 2 reloaded, when we get the second episode for the raid, if we ever actually get one. And now we need to wait for that on a cliffhanger, so it's just, it's episodes of a raid. It's not even an actual full-blown raid, and I really do hope, if they continue with this, we get multiple episodes and they get to the final one, I really hope we get a boss. You're supposed to have bosses in raids, or that's at least how I know them. And then we have a couple of issues after as well. Lewis wasn't awarded a star for the raid completion, so there's problems with the stars. He has no sort of confirmation that he's actually completed it. And then you have Gaz, one of the characters from the main campaign. He is an unlockable operator, but he has this special skin, which is more like ghillie suited. It's called Grassops. And in order to unlock Grassops, not only do you have to complete the raid, but you still need to purchase the fucking bundle. So it's no good just completing the raid and you get this Grassops skin for Gaz. You then have to purchase it, and it's 1800 COD points, and you get a load of other random shit thrown in with it. And not only that, this was the base difficulty for the raid. There is a veteran version as well. The normal raid, in my opinion, in terms of its difficulty, is bullshit. I know it's a raid, it's designed to be difficult, but the veteran one is just going to be stupid. Because I believe what they should have done, the gas mechanic, the drones, they should not have been included in the normal one. They should have been a mechanic for the veteran version, and just other stuff like that. The raid starts you off with trying to get you to be stealthy, and whilst we did manage to pull off a few decent sync shots, the enemies are just alerted far too quick. You don't have a lot of breathing room whatsoever. And then you get through to the end and you've just got these juggernauts and drones and armoured enemies, and it just becomes annoying, and I don't know what else they could do in the veteran mode besides increasing the enemy health. I don't know what else they have done in that mode to make it more difficult and make it a veteran version. What they should have done is cut out some of the mechanics, like maybe you've got to do 2 codes for the CCTV or something like that for the normal one, and then just go and whack 4 codes in for the veteran one. Or something like that. The mechanics should have been dulled down in the base one, and they should have only been added in for the veteran version, because with this base one, me, Pete and Lewis are never going back to episode 1 of the raid. We're just going to wait until the next one comes out. Because overall, I think it's a decent raid. It's not amazing, but it's not absolutely dreadful. There's a lot of frustration, the stress to initially get into the raid, but I feel they did a decent job with it. I actually enjoyed it for the most part. It was just mainly the stupid enemy spawns and how they split you up and you've got to defend yourselves whilst trying to concentrate on a puzzle at the end. And that swimming part, there was just no fucking need for it. It was just a huge distraction, as though the developers didn't know what else to do. So they go, here you go, pass around an air tank and survive underwater. There was no need for it whatsoever. It was tedious. It wasn't enjoyable at all. It was just swimming around in basically a maze. You've got to share an air tank. You get to the other side and you're back to normal shooting enemies. So overall, that is my Atomgrad Episode 1 raid review for Modern Warfare 2. And what I want you guys to do is let me know your thoughts and stuff about this raid in the comments. Have you played it? Have you not? Let me know all of that good stuff below. And check out this video if you want to see other content on the channel. I will see you in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.